Hello, this is Haberman doing something a little different yet again for this channel. Now, I'm primarily known by this point for playing bad video games, so I decided I'd play something I enjoy, a game that's a bona fide classic, Resident Evil, also known as Biohazard, for the PlayStation. But that's not entirely true, of course. This is an alpha disc, which is dated August 4th, 1995, which was roughly 6 months before the game finally came out in March 1996. And from what I can gather, the disc image started to circulate around the internet sometime in 2010. So by no means am I the first person to show this thing off, but I decided I'd do it anyway, because the videos I've seen showing it off are not up to par for me personally. So for those of you who are used to me trying to be funny in these videos, I'm going to warn you right up front that this is going to be more informative. I'm going to try to point out a bunch of the things that have changed between this version and the final version. Going mostly off of memory, mind you, since I used to speedrun this game, oh so many years ago. I'd probably do pretty badly at that if I tried to do it now, but that's beside the point. So I've pressed start by this point, and we are missing the Biohazard voiceover that would usually greet you when you start the game up. And as you can see, we have both characters playable, Chris Redfield and Chris Redfield of the Raccoon City Police Department. There's an A missing there. But, yeah, so there's only Chris in this alpha. So we'll play as Chris. And here it is. This is, I'm sure pretty close to the finalized version of this screen, remembering that all these backgrounds are pre-rendered graphics. A lot of these have changed from this alpha. Even the controls have changed. There's a lot of things here that aren't cemented. Let's try opening these doors first. I don't actually know what that means. I can't actually read Japanese. We can talk to Jill here, who is here. And I think this line translates to something roughly along the lines of, I'll keep an eye out on this. Or, I'll keep watch here. I read that online. We cannot go past Jill, by the way. We can't go up the stairs. This alpha seems to take place entirely on the first floor. And not even the entirety of the first floor, but... there's definitely some screens here. I don't think these screens have changed at all. I think these are completely finalized. There's really not anything to do back here anyway, except get a better look at our Chris model. I should mention the controls here. To run, instead of holding down a sprint key, you have to double tap the forward key, which is not exactly ideal for me personally. So we're headed into the dining room now. And we're greeted by the first zombie, who's not where he's supposed to be, if you are using the final game as comparison. Right, there's actually a second zombie in here as well that you can hear. I don't think the aiming in the combat exactly works, where if you aim up or down, you can aim for the head or the legs or whatnot. I think it's just center mass. And, I wish I could say that this AI wasn't finalized, but, the zombies in the final product are wont to do this sort of thing as well, so this isn't entirely unexpected. I should also mention that there's no inventory in this game. Instead, to switch weapons, you straight up press the circle key. I switched to the knife here, which is actually a bit... well, it's not doing me any favors right now, so let's just go ahead and switch back to handgun. Different noises. You can press circle to cycle through the weapons here. We got the shotgun, unarmed, knife, which is a bit quicker. This would have been, a bit more viable if we had kept this in the final game instead of the longer animation we're used to now. Notice the lack of any textures, just a solid color. Same thing for the pistol, which is just a black rectangle. Really low poly, just obviously test models. The shotgun especially, which is literally 2 polygons. One slightly oddly shaped brown rectangle and a black rectangle as the pump. Not quite what you'd call ergonomic. But you'll also notice that the clock is missing from here, so this puzzle's obviously not implemented into this quite yet. But, I mean, the gap in the wall is still there, so you can see where they had these puzzles planned out already. No blood on the ground. So we can safely say it is not Chris's blood. That's a joke for Resident Evil fans. Hey, look up there at the top of the screen. You can see that the handrail along the upper walkway is already broken, so that we'd be able to push the statue over it and down onto the dining room floor below, get the gem out of it for the puzzle in the final game. So once again, they have these puzzles plotted out already. They just didn't implement the elements that would make them, interactive in this build. Alright, so this is the Kenneth hallway. If we look to our left, we should be able to see a hunter who really doesn't belong here this early in the game. Deal with that. And no, Kenneth's body is not to be found. This would usually be where you see the first zombie gnawing away at Kenneth's neck. More on that later. I'm pretty sure his text actually says something to the extent of this door is locked, or it appears to be locked, or something like that. So that door is locked, this door is locked. Surprisingly, the door to the piano room is unlocked. We can explore this room. I can't remember if these are finalized or not. I'm looking at this now. I think there's some color tweaks they made between this and the final game. We cannot interact with the piano. We cannot play our rendition of Moonlight's Sonata. I can't push these cabinets out of the way. The way they're shaped, though, leads me to believe, and the fact that they're not built into the background leads me to believe that they, once again, we're planning on how this puzzle would work, how this room would eventually work. I think this alpha is more of a demonstration, a stripped-down demonstration of the game more than an actual, stage of development. They probably had all the stuff worked out. There's another alpha disc that's circulated around, which I think is dated sometime in October. So 2 months later, and it's a far more finished version of the game. Oh, one more thing I should point out. Hunter's back. We got instantly respawning enemies, or enemies that respawn when you leave the room and come back. There's really not too much need to revisit most of the rooms the way this alpha is laid out, so shouldn't have to worry too much about that in the other rooms. We still got the 2 zombies in the dining room to contend with. You may notice some audio glitches as we go through these door screens. I'm not sure if that's emulator side or if it's a problem with the alpha, but it seems to mess with the audio as you go through the doors. It messed with the background music, that is. And expertly zombie dodged. Completely avoided that confrontation. Very difficult strats at play here. Alright, so we got the 2 doors on the right-hand side. Let's go towards, this is the path towards the wardrobe room. We got some live remixing going on with the music. The world's worst DJ attempts to touch the untouchable Resident Evil soundtrack. Speaking of which, in the news right now, and to horribly date this video, the composer for the soundtrack of the DualShock version of this game, Mamoru Samuragochi, is being revealed to have outsourced all his composing, all his music writing, to another composer for the past 18 years, as well as faking being deaf in order to gain sympathy from this composer who he's outsourcing his music to. So that's pretty nuts. That door back there is locked, by the way. We cannot make our way to the wardrobe and put on Chris's bomber-ass bomber jacket, which is unfortunate, but not entirely unexpected either. We'll get a closer look at the Chris model when we get to the C-shaped hallway, which has this one camera angle that's a nice medium shot and gives us a really good look at the character model. Right, so this is the art gallery room, where if we had a miniature staircase we could push into place, grab the map out of that vase inside the statue there. You'll notice that this room is pretty different in terms of lighting. I think some of these paintings are different as well. So we're going to head behind the curtain, and this is different! So this would be Kenneth. This would be Kenneth, who was missing from his designated Kenneth room earlier. You can get a closer look at his gnawed-off face here, and gnawed-off legs by the looks of it. Interesting that they would move it over here, or perhaps even maybe move it from here back into the Kenneth room, past the dining room. So could this room have been where we were originally supposed to have discovered Kenneth, or did they just move him to make room for the hunter in that other room, for the purpose of the alpha and all that? Now the zombie in the final game is lying belly down on the floor. He's one of the ones that grabs at your legs. And there's actually one of those types of zombies on display in this alpha, which makes it a little weird why they would have put a standing zombie here, but minor nitpick. There's nothing to grab there. There's really nothing to pick up at all in this alpha, now that I think about it. Save for one thing, we'll get to that too, but really not much you can interact with at all. Let's save for one thing coming up in this room right here, actually. Oh boy. This is the dog hallway, as many people will refer to it as. No dogs here yet, nothing bursting through the windows. We can push this table, though, is what I meant to say. This is demonstrating the ability to push objects around. And hello, Mr. Spider. It's much too early in the game to be seeing you. We don't even have any blue herbs or anything. What if you bite us? That'll take care of that. And it spawns all the miniature spiders as well. So, yeah, interesting that they would put this here. It goes to show that this is more of like a tech demo than anything. That they want to show, here's all the enemies we have finished. Or all the ones we're comfortable putting on display anyway. And this should be the medium shot we've been looking for. Not exactly a medium shot, but close enough, right? We can get a close look at the face, which I think is actually slightly more detailed than the face in the final product, if memory serves. The rest of the model, though, is a bit janky, to be honest. More clipping than in the final product, though that could be the case of the emulator as well. This door is locked. Surprisingly, the bathroom door is unlocked. We can venture inside of here. Not much to do inside of here, much as in the final game as well. Except for, I think, like a rusty key for Chris. Maybe some, like, ammo for Jill, I want to say. I can't remember if you're supposed to reflect in that mirror or not in the final game. Can't do it here, though. We are coming up on one of the more memorable rooms in the game, I would say. Especially for players who played as Jill. And I'm just remembering a really good moment in the remake here for GameCube, where the windows here, because we didn't have the dog hallway earlier. The dogs didn't pop out at us, so in the GameCube version they actually pop out of windows here when you pass by. So it's sort of like a playing with your expectations sort of deal. And I really like that moment. I always have and I always will. But we're entering the shotgun room now, or the ceiling crushing room as well. I guess the ceiling crushing room connects to the shotgun room. So as Chris, typically we would need to find a rusty shotgun well, you'll see here, we'll replace this shotgun with that, because just pulling this off the rack would trigger a trap. And you can see that, look, this shotgun looks like the actual finalized shotgun, more or less, versus the shitty one in our hands, which honestly looks more like the broken rusty shotgun that we're carrying right now. And we cannot switch to the real shotgun. So it's a sort of weird thing, because the existence of that model on the rack means that they had the proper working final model, or at least closer to it, for the shotgun, and yet they gave us this weirder, darker red stick to carry around. Anyway, here's the ceiling trap. And since there is no rusty shotgun in this version of the game, of this build, we are simply trapped. And since Chris's campaign does not feature Barry, we are dead. We're gonna get crushed to death. Except there's a little cutscene playing out right now with no dialogue. Barry! And a minor change here, you actually have to manually leave the room, in this case, as opposed to the cutscene scripting you running out. But, yeah, Barry came to our rescue. And we're missing the cutscene afterwards, where he would refer to us, I guess, as a Redfield sandwich. And I don't know what this line of dialogue is, unfortunately. There's an exclamation mark at the end of it, so maybe it is the line where he says, that was too close, you could have turned into a Chris sandwich, who knows? Maybe one day someone will translate that. And he stands a bit taller than Chris, which I think in the final game, everyone is at the same height. Everyone is stuck at the same height as one another. But they use like the same skeleton for all the models, and they just swap the textures out. Locked and locked. And here's a grabber zombie, who should have been in the art gallery, really. Or the Kenneth hallway of this game, of this build. We're heading into the paintings room now. The Raven's Nest, as it were. Or are they crows? They're crows. And we've been seeing this Mona Lisa knockoff in several of these rooms, including the art gallery. Which isn't in the final game, if memory serves. And here is the slot on the wall where we would typically find, is it a key? Where we typically find the item held in this room. But of course there's no puzzle to solve here, so... And there's no item to pick up either, so... See all those damn birds up there. I wonder if I can fell them all with one swoop. That was like 4 birds with one stone. Or one cone, I guess. One blast cone, as it were. Impressive. So I guess there is the spread on the shotgun already. And watch out for the grabber. Guess he's back to life. There we go. Double tap. And so we're quickly approaching the garden. We're gonna pass through this hallway first. We typically need the emblems. That's what we get out of the painting room. We get the emblem, which would assist in opening this door here. But there's no divots for the emblems quite yet, and there's no emblems to pick up, so we can just walk right on through into the tool shed. To be continued. That's where the alpha ends, as it turns out, with a fight against Yawn that we cannot see the conclusion to. Interesting that they would put him there. I wonder if, again, that was a potential development decision, you know, something they were weighing, where should we put the first encounter with Yawn? Or if that's just a nice, you know, exciting way to cap off their little tech demo alpha, whatever you want to call it. And that would be it. That's the entire contents of this alpha, of this build of the game. And it's interesting to me to see the changes that got made, or to see what changes they made specifically for the purpose of this alpha, and to try and figure out what was already cemented. And if you look at the October alpha as well, and you see the differences that 2 months may have made here, the differences between this build and that one even, and you see how far it comes, that's interesting as well, and so maybe we'll take a look at that at some point. Until then, this has been Haberman. Thanks for watching.